A quiet day in a medieval English village. The night has gently faded, and somewhere beyond the horizon, the first hint of dawn begins to brighten the sky. There is nothing to hurry toward this morning. No crowded streets, no clocks to watch, no endless list of tasks waiting for your attention. Instead, you find yourself standing on a narrow country lane in medieval England, where the day unfolds at the steady rhythm of nature. Take a slow, easy breath. The cool morning air carries the scent of damp earth, fresh grass, and wood smoke drifting from distant chimneys. Tiny droplets of dew rest upon every blade of grass, sparkling softly as the first rays of sunlight stretch across rolling green hills. Ahead of you, a small village slowly awakens. It is not a grand city with towering walls or busy markets. It is a quiet collection of timber-framed cottages gathered around a simple village green. Thatched roofs glow golden beneath the rising sun, while climbing roses and ivy decorate weathered wooden walls that have stood for generations. A narrow stream winds peacefully beside the village. Its clear water flows over smooth stones with a quiet melody that has remained unchanged for centuries. A small wooden bridge crosses the stream, connecting the village to fields that disappear into the gentle morning mist. You begin walking slowly across the bridge. Every wooden plank creaks softly beneath your feet, polished smooth by countless villagers who have crossed here each morning for many years. The sound feels comforting rather than old, like the familiar rhythm of a place that has always welcomed quiet travelers. Long before modern roads and railways connected England, villages like this formed the heart of everyday life. Most people rarely traveled far from home. Their world was made up of nearby fields, neighboring cottages, the village church, and the surrounding countryside. Life moved with the seasons. Spring brought planting. Summer offered long days beneath warm sunshine. Autumn filled barns with grain and apples. Winter invited families to gather beside glowing fireplaces while the wind whispered outside. You follow the winding lane toward the center of the village. The first villagers are already beginning their day, though everything happens with remarkable calm. An elderly baker opens the wooden shutters of his little bakery. Warm loaves of bread rest upon wide oak shelves, filling the morning air with the comforting aroma of fresh wheat and slowly rising dough. Nearby, a young woman sweeps yesterday's leaves from the stone path outside her cottage. She pauses only to smile at a passing neighbor carrying a woven basket filled with herbs gathered before sunrise. There is no rush. Everyone seems to understand that the day has only just begun. As you continue, chickens wander freely across the village green while a small flock of ducks paddles peacefully in a nearby pond. Their gentle movements create tiny circles upon the still water, where white water lilies float quietly beneath the reflection of the brightening sky. A pair of robins hops between flower beds overflowing with lavender, daisies, and foxgloves. Their cheerful songs drift through the village like a gentle greeting. Beyond the cottages stand carefully tended gardens. Neat rows of cabbage, onions, peas, beans, and carrots grow beside fragrant herbs such as rosemary, sage, thyme, and mint. Apple trees stretch their branches over simple wooden fences, while climbing beans wind carefully around tall hazel poles. For most medieval families, these gardens were treasures. Nearly every meal depended upon what could be grown nearby or gathered from the surrounding countryside. Fresh vegetables, herbs, berries, and fruit filled tables throughout the warmer months, while careful preparation helped families store food for winter. You pause beside a stone well at the center of the village. Its weathered stones are covered with soft emerald moss, and a sturdy wooden bucket hangs patiently from a thick rope. Cool water glistens far below, reflecting a small circle of blue sky above. Nearby, an ancient oak tree spreads its magnificent branches across the village green. Perhaps it has watched children play beneath its shade for hundreds of years. Perhaps generations of neighbors have gathered beneath its shelter to share stories during warm summer evenings. Its rough bark tells no tales aloud. Yet somehow it carries the quiet memory of every peaceful day that has passed beneath its leaves. A gentle breeze moves through the branches. Leaves rustle softly overhead. Church bells ring once in the distance. The sound drifts across the fields before disappearing into the quiet countryside. You turn toward the old stone church standing peacefully at the edge of the village. Sunlight now bathes its gray walls in warm golden light, while colorful wildflowers bloom along the path leading to its wooden door. The lane invites you forward with unhurried steps, promising another quiet morning among the timeless cottages, peaceful gardens, and gentle traditions of a medieval English village, where every simple moment feels worthy of being remembered. The village bakery and the morning market. The path leading toward the old stone church curves gently through the heart of the village, and as you follow it, the morning grows a little brighter. The golden light of the rising sun stretches across the thatched rooftops, warming the dew that still clings to every blade of grass. A light mist lingers over the nearby fields, slowly lifting as the countryside welcomes another peaceful day. You walk without hurry. There is no destination that must be reached at a certain hour. Here, the day unfolds naturally, guided by sunlight, changing seasons, and familiar routines that have remained almost unchanged for generations. The village begins to stir. A cottage door opens quietly, and a woman steps outside carrying a small wooden pail. She pauses for a moment to enjoy the fresh morning air before making her way toward the village well. Along the lane, another neighbor opens wide the shutters of a tiny window, allowing warm sunlight to fill a cozy room decorated with simple wooden furniture and freshly picked flowers. The smell of baking bread soon finds you again. It grows stronger with every step. Before long, you arrive at the village bakery. The little stone building stands beside the village green, its roof covered with golden straw and its chimney sending a thin ribbon of white smoke into the clear blue sky. Outside the doorway, neat rows of round loaves cool upon sturdy oak shelves while woven baskets wait patiently to carry fresh bread to nearby homes. You pause beside the open window. Inside, the baker moves slowly and confidently around a large brick oven that has warmed countless mornings over the years. He dusts flour across a broad wooden table before gently shaping another loaf with practiced hands. Every movement is calm and unhurried, as though the rhythm of bread making is simply another way of greeting the day. For much of medieval England, bread was the center of nearly every meal. Wheat, rye, barley, and oats were carefully milled into flour before being transformed into simple loaves that nourished families through every season. Baking was more than daily work. It was an essential part of village life, connecting farmers, millers, and bakers in a quiet cycle that repeated year after year. The warm fragrance filling the bakery is wonderfully comforting. Fresh bread, toasted grain, oak firewood, a touch of rosemary drying from the ceiling beams. You notice a kettle gently warming beside the hearth, releasing the delicate scent of herbs gathered from nearby gardens. Chamomile, mint, and lemon balm have long been enjoyed as calming drinks, offering comfort after a busy morning or before a peaceful night's sleep. Leaving the bakery behind, you continue toward the village green. The open space rests beneath the shade of a magnificent oak tree whose branches spread across the square like a great green umbrella. Wooden benches circle its sturdy trunk, inviting travelers and neighbors alike to rest for a while. Today is market day. It is nothing like the crowded marketplaces of large towns. Instead, only a handful of villagers have gathered with simple goods to share. One farmer displays baskets of crisp apples and freshly picked pears. Another arranges bundles of carrots, onions, and cabbages upon a linen cloth spread neatly across a wooden table. Nearby, a beekeeper offers small jars of golden honey collected from hives hidden among wildflowers at the edge of the forest. The market feels more like a friendly gathering than a place of business. Neighbors greet one another with warm smiles and quiet conversations. Children help carry baskets while older villagers exchange gardening tips, recipes, and stories about changing weather or successful harvests. Everything happens gently. No voices rise above the peaceful murmur of conversation. No one appears hurried. A young shepherd arrives with a small flock of sheep moving calmly along the edge of the square. Tiny brass bells tied around a few of the animals produce soft, melodic chimes that drift through the morning air whenever they wander across the grass. The sound is soothing, almost musical. Across the green, a seamstress carefully displays neatly folded wool blankets, hand-woven scarves, and simple linen garments. Every stitch has been sewn by hand, requiring patience that modern life rarely asks of anyone. You pause to admire the careful craftsmanship. Long before machines could produce clothing in great numbers, every garment represented many hours of quiet work. Wool had to be cleaned, spun into thread, woven into cloth, and finally sewn into warm clothing that would protect families throughout the changing seasons. As you continue your slow walk, you notice a small wooden cart decorated with bunches of lavender, sage, thyme, and fragrant wildflowers gathered from nearby meadows. The scent is wonderfully calming. A gentle breeze carries it across the village square, mixing with the aroma of fresh bread and warm sunshine. Nearby, a friendly golden-colored dog lies peacefully beneath the old oak tree, occasionally lifting its head as children quietly pass before settling comfortably back into the cool grass. The church bell rings softly once. Its single note travels across the rooftops, over the gardens, and out toward the rolling green fields beyond the village. You turn toward the sound. The narrow lane leading to the old stone church is lined with white daisies and blooming foxgloves, while swallows circle gracefully above the weathered bell tower. Farther beyond, you catch sight of a peaceful orchard where apple blossoms dance gently in the breeze. A narrow footpath winds through the flowering trees, leading toward a quiet stream that sparkles beneath the midday sun. With slow, comfortable steps, you leave the peaceful market behind and follow the blossom-lined path, knowing that another tranquil corner of this medieval English village is waiting to welcome you with the same gentle rhythm that has guided life here for centuries. The orchard, the stream, and the village church. Leaving the gentle bustle of the village market behind, you follow the narrow path that winds between low stone walls covered in soft emerald moss. The sounds of quiet conversation slowly fade until only birdsong and the whisper of the breeze remain. The village feels wonderfully peaceful again. Ahead of you, an old wooden gate stands open, welcoming anyone who wishes to wander through the orchard beyond. Its weathered oak has been polished smooth by countless hands over many generations, and climbing roses wrap themselves gently around its frame. You step through the gate. Immediately, the air changes. It carries the sweet fragrance of apple blossoms, fresh grass, and warm sunshine. Bees drift lazily from flower to flower, collecting nectar with patient determination, while white butterflies float effortlessly among the branches. Rows of apple, pear, and plum trees stretch across the gentle hillside. Their branches sway softly in the morning breeze, creating shifting patterns of light and shadow upon the grass below. Tiny birds perch among the blossoms, occasionally singing before darting gracefully into the clear blue sky. In medieval England, orchards were treasured places. Families cared for fruit trees with great patience, knowing that each season's harvest would provide fresh fruit, preserves, and cider throughout the year. An orchard was more than a place to grow food. It was a quiet gathering place where neighbors rested during warm afternoons and children played beneath the cooling shade. You continue along the grassy path until you hear the familiar sound of flowing water. Soon, the orchard opens onto a peaceful stream. The clear water glides gently over smooth pebbles, reflecting drifting clouds and the green branches that lean gracefully across its banks. Ferns, foxgloves, and wild violets flourish beside the water, while dragonflies shimmer above the surface like tiny jewels catching the sunlight. A small stone bridge crosses the stream. Its graceful arch has stood here for centuries, joining the orchard to the church grounds beyond. Moss grows between the carefully placed stones, and delicate wildflowers bloom from tiny cracks along its edges. You pause in the center of the bridge. Looking down, you notice tiny trout moving slowly through the crystal-clear water below. Fallen blossoms drift quietly with the current before disappearing beneath the overhanging willow branches farther downstream. Everything moves gently. Nothing is hurried. The stream seems to carry away every lingering thought, leaving only peaceful silence behind. Beyond the bridge, a winding footpath climbs toward the village church. Built from pale limestone gathered from nearby hills, the church has watched over this village for hundreds of years. Its square bell tower rises above the surrounding trees, while climbing ivy embraces the ancient walls with quiet affection. Sunlight warms the weathered stone, giving it a soft, golden glow. The heavy oak door stands open. You step inside. The cool air is immediately comforting after the warmth of the morning sun. Thick stone walls create a peaceful stillness that feels almost timeless. Rows of simple wooden benches stretch across the floor, their smooth surfaces polished by generations of villagers who have quietly gathered here through every season of life. Colored light filters through tall stained glass windows. Gentle shades of blue, green, ruby, and amber dance across the stone floor as the sunlight slowly shifts throughout the morning. Several beeswax candles burn quietly near the front of the church. Their tiny flames flicker gently, filling the air with the comforting scent of warm honey and polished wood. You take a seat upon one of the old benches. There is no ceremony taking place today, only silence. The peaceful kind of silence that allows every slow breath to feel deeper than the last. For centuries, churches like this were often the center of village life. People gathered here not only for worship but also to celebrate harvest festivals, welcome newborn children, mark the changing seasons, and support one another during ordinary moments of everyday life. The building itself became a quiet witness to countless generations growing together. After a few peaceful moments, you quietly step back outside. Behind the church lies a small garden surrounded by a low stone wall. Lavender grows beside rosemary and sage. Chamomile sways gently beneath the sunlight, while climbing roses decorate wooden arches leading toward a shaded corner where a simple stone bench overlooks the countryside. You sit there for a while. From this peaceful spot, the entire village comes into view. The thatched cottages rest comfortably beneath ancient oak trees. Thin ribbons of white smoke rise lazily from a few chimneys. The village green glows beneath the afternoon sun. Far beyond, rolling hills stretch toward the distant horizon where forests meet the sky. The breeze carries the faint aroma of freshly baked bread from the bakery, mingled with the sweet fragrance of flowering herbs and newly cut hay from nearby meadows. A pair of swallows circles gracefully above the church tower before gliding toward the open fields. Somewhere below, the soft laughter of children playing near the village well drifts upward before fading once again into the quiet countryside. You remain on the stone bench a little longer, simply watching the slow rhythm of village life unfold. The afternoon sun begins its gentle journey westward. Long shadows stretch across the fields. Golden light settles upon the rooftops. And beyond the church garden, a narrow lane disappears toward a peaceful watermill standing beside a gently turning river, where wooden wheels, quiet workshops, and the comforting rhythm of handcrafted work await your next unhurried walk through this timeless English. The watermill and the village craftsman. You leave the peaceful church garden by following the narrow lane that winds gently downhill through fields of wildflowers. The afternoon sun hangs comfortably above the countryside, bathing the rolling hills in a warm golden light. A gentle breeze carries the sweet fragrance of freshly cut hay, blooming clover, and the distant scent of pine drifting from the woodland beyond the fields. Your footsteps remain slow and easy. There is no need to hurry. The village seems to breathe at its own quiet pace, inviting you to do the same. Before long, you hear the familiar sound of flowing water. It begins as a soft whisper carried by the breeze, growing a little clearer with every step until the peaceful murmur of a winding river fills the afternoon air. The old watermill soon appears around a gentle bend. Built from sturdy limestone with thick oak beams supporting its roof, it stands gracefully beside the river exactly where it has served the village for countless generations. Moss blankets the lower stones, while climbing ivy decorates the walls with rich green leaves that shimmer gently beneath the sunlight. The great wooden water wheel turns slowly. Each paddle lifts clear river water before allowing it to fall again with a soft, rhythmic splash. The movement is steady and unchanging, powered only by the patient flow of the river itself. You pause to watch. There is something deeply calming about its quiet rhythm. Round and round, hour after hour. season after season. For centuries, watermills like this formed the heart of many English villages. Grain harvested from nearby fields was brought here in woven sacks, where the steady power of moving water turned heavy millstones that ground wheat into fine flour for the village baker. You step inside the cool stone building. Sunlight streams through small wooden windows, creating bright ribbons across the timber floor. Dust-like particles of flour float lazily through the warm beams of light, drifting so slowly they almost seem suspended in time. The miller works with quiet confidence. His movements are careful and unhurried as he checks the turning stones and fills sturdy linen sacks with freshly milled flour. Every task has been repeated thousands of times before, each one carried out with the calm assurance that comes from years of experience. The room carries a comforting aroma. Fresh grain, smooth oak, cool river water, and the faint scent of beeswax polish used to care for the wooden machinery. Leaving the meal behind, you follow another narrow path leading back toward the village. Along the way, rows of willow trees bend gracefully over the riverbank, their slender branches brushing the surface of the gently flowing water. Ducks glide quietly downstream while dragonflies shimmer like tiny jewels in the afternoon sunlight. Soon, the peaceful sounds of craftsmanship replace the river. A row of small workshops stands beside the village. Village Square, each one filled with skilled hands quietly creating the objects that make everyday life comfortable and beautiful. The first workshop belongs to the village carpenter. Outside, neatly stacked oak and ash timbers rest beneath a simple wooden shelter. Inside, the carpenter patiently shapes a sturdy table, guiding his hand playing along the smooth wood until long curling ribbons fall gently onto the floor. The scent of freshly cut cedar fills the room. Warm sunlight enters through the open doorway, illuminating shelves lined with chairs, stools, shelves, and finely carved chests. Every piece has been made by hand, designed to last for generations rather than years. Farther along the lane, the blacksmith's workshop stands beneath a large oak tree. Unlike the loud workshops of busy towns, this one feels surprisingly peaceful. The forge burns with a steady glow, warming the room without roaring. The blacksmith shapes simple horseshoes, farming tools, and kitchen utensils with slow, measured movements. The gentle ringing of hammer against metal echoes softly across the square. Each strike is calm, evenly spaced, almost like the steady ticking of an old clock. Nearby, the cooper carefully fits wooden staves together to build strong barrels for storing grain, cider, and fresh water. Not far away, a basket maker weaves long willow branches into sturdy baskets used during harvest season. Every craft has its place. Every artisan contributes something useful to the village. Life here depends not on speed but on patience, cooperation, and quiet skill. You continue wandering through the workshops until you reach a small courtyard filled with flowering herbs. Several women sit together spinning wool into fine thread using simple wooden spinning wheels. Their conversations are gentle and cheerful, blending naturally with the soft whir of the spinning wheels and the distant songs of birds resting in nearby trees. Before machines transformed daily life, nearly every piece of clothing was made this way. Wool was washed, carded, spun into thread, woven into cloth, and finally sewn into warm garments by patient hands. The afternoon begins to soften. Golden sunlight turns richer, casting long shadows across the cobblestone lanes. Window boxes overflow with blooming geraniums and lavender, while vines heavy with summer flowers climb the walls of timber-framed cottages. You wander slowly back toward the village green. Children quietly play simple games beneath the great oak tree, laughing softly as they roll wooden hoops across the grass. A friendly sheepdog watches them from the shade, occasionally lifting its head before settling comfortably once more. The peaceful rhythm of the village continues all around you. A baker carries the final loaves of the day to a waiting shelf. The miller closes the doors of the watermill. Gardeners gather fresh herbs for the evening meal. And from somewhere beyond the last cottage, the gentle fragrance of supper begins to drift through the cooling air. The sun slowly approaches the western hills, painting the rooftops with warm amber light. Beyond the village green, a narrow footpath leads toward open meadows where grazing sheep, quiet orchards, and a small shepherd's cottage await beneath the glowing colors of the approaching sunset. With slow and comfortable steps, you follow the peaceful path, allowing the gentle beauty of the afternoon to fade naturally into the calm embrace of evening. Sunset over the meadows and the quiet evening. The narrow path leaves the heart of the village behind, carrying you gently through wide green meadows where the late afternoon sunlight has begun to soften into shades of honey and gold. Every step feels light and effortless, as though the peaceful countryside itself is inviting you to slow down just a little more. The breeze has changed. It is cooler now, carrying the comforting fragrance of wildflowers, fresh hay, and the distant scent of wood smoke rising from cottage chimneys. The air is wonderfully still, disturbed only by the occasional flutter of a bird crossing the open sky. Ahead, a small flock of sheep grazes peacefully upon the hillside. Their thick wool catches the golden light, giving them a warm glow against the rich green grass. Tiny brass bells tied around a few of their necks ring softly whenever they wander toward another patch of clover. The sound drifts gently across the meadow. Slow, gentle, almost like a quiet lullaby. Nearby stands a small shepherd's cottage. Built from weathered stone with a roof of golden thatch, it nestles comfortably beneath two ancient oak trees whose broad branches have sheltered it through countless seasons. Climbing roses frame the little windows, while neat rows of lavender bloom beside the front door. You follow the winding path toward the cottage. A friendly sheepdog lifts its head for a moment before offering a calm wag of its tail and returning to its comfortable place beside the doorway. The shepherd sits upon a simple wooden bench, quietly mending a wool blanket as the last warmth of the afternoon sun rests upon his shoulders. There is no urgency, only peaceful routine. For many generations, shepherds spent their days following the slow rhythm of nature. They watched the changing weather, cared for their flocks, and walked familiar hills that looked much the same from one century to the next. Their lives were measured not by clocks but by sunrise, sunset, and the changing seasons. You continue beyond the cottage. The path gently climbs toward the crest of the hill. As you reach the top, the entire village comes into view below. The thatched rooftops glow warmly beneath the evening light. Thin ribbons of smoke rise lazily from stone chimneys. The old church bell tower stands quietly among towering oak trees. The watermill beside the river continues its slow, steady turning. Beyond it, orchards, gardens, and open fields stretch toward the distant forest, where the first long shadows of evening settle beneath the ancient trees. You pause for a while. The view is wonderfully peaceful. A small wooden bench rests beneath a spreading beech tree, perfectly placed for anyone wishing to watch the countryside as daylight gently fades. You take a seat. There is nothing to do now except breathe slowly and watch the evening unfold. Above you, swallows make their final graceful circles before returning to their nests beneath the cottage roofs. A pair of rabbits quietly emerges from the tall grass near the edge of the meadow, pausing only to nibble clover before disappearing once more among the wildflowers. The sky begins to change. Golden light slowly blends into soft shades of peach, rose, and lavender. High above, long clouds drift peacefully across the horizon, their edges glowing with the final warmth of the setting sun. The village below prepares for night. Lanterns appear one by one beside cottage doors. Their gentle amber light reflects upon tiny window panes, creating a warm glow that spreads softly through every winding lane. Families gather quietly inside their homes. Simple suppers are shared around sturdy wooden tables. Fresh bread, vegetable stew, creamy butter, garden herbs, and warm apple pies fill the cottages with comforting aromas. Outside, the evening grows quieter still. The birds finish their final songs. The breeze moves gently through the leaves. The distant river continues its timeless journey toward places unseen. As darkness slowly settles over the countryside, the first stars appear above the ancient forest. One, then another. Soon the sky is filled with countless tiny lights, shining peacefully above the sleeping hills. The moon rises slowly beyond the trees. Its silver light bathes the meadows, rooftops, and winding lanes in a gentle glow that transforms the village into a place that feels almost dreamlike. You begin your unhurried walk back toward the village. The cobblestone streets are calm beneath the moonlight. Flower gardens rest quietly beside every cottage. The old oak tree watches over the village green just as it has for centuries. Passing the bakery, you notice only the faint scent of bread lingering in the cool night air. The market square now lies peacefully empty. The watermill has grown silent. Even the sheep rest comfortably upon the hillside beneath the stars. You return once more to the little stone bridge where your journey first began this morning. The stream beneath it reflects the moon like polished silver. Fireflies drift above the water, their tiny lanterns rising and falling among the reeds. You lean gently against the smooth wooden railing. The cool evening air feels wonderfully refreshing. The quiet sound of flowing water matches your slow breathing. There is nowhere else you need to be. Nothing left to accomplish today. Only this peaceful moment, wrapped in moonlight and surrounded by the timeless beauty of a medieval English village that has welcomed another gentle day to its natural close. As you take one final look across the sleeping rooftops and the softly glowing lanterns, the village settles into complete stillness, leaving you with the comforting feeling that tomorrow will arrive just as gently as today. And that somewhere beyond your dreams, this quiet little place will still be waiting beneath the ancient English sky.